think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Okay, so America, they already won the trade war, right? They just bend it. I think we've talked about this in the past. Like they're already bending us over and taking what they want.
No, that was a shitty deal.
Yeah.
It's not even that. It fluctuates year to year based on the price of oil. And like America at one time may have a deficit, it may have a surplus. It just kind of all depends on how much, because oil makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't fucking get their oil from other places because they run on the heavy Canadian crude. So
right.
Yeah, they can't get Texas oil. They can't fucking import it anywhere else. So don't even try. It's all just fucking bullshit.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna get tariffs any day now again tomorrow, I suppose.
March
1st, right?
Third. I think the fourth. The
4th. Whatever. Monday is D-Day. So we're gonna buckle up for that thing. That's definitely gonna happen.
Maybe.
And if it does happen, like honestly, if it does happen, like it's almost like it'll be a relief, right? Because like America then will start to racist grandpa will start to experience very quickly the effects of this incredibly bad economic decision.
They're already making motions to impeach him after the Zelensky meeting, so he's got a battle coming in on all fronts all the time.
Yeah, he doesn't give a fuck about that.
And Republicans would have to vote to impeach him, so they're going to talk a lot about this, I think, for 4 years.
And it's this, and sadly, like I know that this is how it works in life, but like them ambushing him on TV, and I haven't watched it yet, and I'm sure it's shameful. You tell me it's shameful, I believe it. You know, you don't have to tell me that it's too shameful. Fucking empty humans attacking someone under wartime conditions, and I assume saying it's his fault. Is that the thing that they say to him?
Hey, how'd you guess?
Yeah.
There's not enough gratitude. Have you ever said thank you to the American people?
Oh,
that was. I'm
pretty sure he has. Probably in Congress and probably on live TV.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know.
He did ask JD Vance if he'd ever been to Ukraine. JD Vance said he'd seen footage.
Oh, very nice. Anyway, the thing I was going to say though is that like it makes sense that in our world, you know, like articles of impeachment will be like brought up in a world in relation to this, right? Some sort of diplomatic fiasco, whereas like racist grandpa's he sent children with sledgehammers into the federal government, and has just let them loose, and you know like. Where's the where is the appropriate response to all of this activity? You know, like it's not there because it's not sexy television. So they have to latch onto the sexy television, and it's sad because like it remains to be seen if we pass the Rubicon yet with racist grandpa. Like we're gonna know, I think, in the next couple months whether it's like we have a dictator next door, or whether or not it's just like an increasingly tense, but actually affecting Republican system. I'm not judging either way yet, but it is, you know, like it's precarious, and there should be a lot more talk about, from opposition groups. But anyway,
it is precarious. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, but you know, it doesn't look good.
I'm just cautious, man. Optimism's out the window. Like whatever's going on, it's totally bad, but is it as bad as it could be? That's the question at this point. No. That's the question we're left with.
Are we going to answer that question today?
No, that's not the question, or no, it's not.
Well, if it's as bad as it could be, because it could be worse.
Oh no, it could be way worse.
Yeah.
we already have that.
We already have what?
Supervillains on drugs. Isn't Elon jacked on ketamine?
Oh, that's true.
See,
that is true.
Now I'm gonna get our episode taken down. Shit.
Yeah, I stepped on your fucking transition. Sorry about that, Chris. Your voice went quiet for a second there.
No, it was definitely a good Magneto transmission. God damn it. Transition.
It's good transmission too.
Yeah.
It's like magnetism generally in Marvel comics. It just does everything. It transmits, it transitions, it transforms.
Creates black holes.
The only thing it doesn't do is make a character that at least that you actually give a shit about, but I guess we'll get to that here on the Extinction Agenda with James
and Chris.
And yeah, we're finishing up Morrison's new X-Men today, and we're doing okay. So it's issue 146 to 154. So we got 2 arcs: Planet X, which goes up until issue 150, and then Here Comes Tomorrow, which we've already covered on this podcast before, and we'll probably repeat some things, but hopefully we also say something new.
Yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to actually tell me why this is good.
I'm excited.
Why Here
Comes thing, both books went like down a peg for me on this read through.
Okay, that's Planet X. It doesn't surprise me. Like I don't much care for Planet X. Before we get into it, we'll talk about the creative team just slightly. It's got Phil Jimenez art. Landing. I don't give a fuck about colored by Chris Chukri. Worst name ever. Whoever you are, Chris Chukri. Fucking. And
disgrace to Chris's everywhere.
That's right. And when are these coming out? We got November release dates are September 2003 to December 2003. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. Oh yeah, for issue 46 to 55, and then or to 150, and then 151 to 154 is January 2004 to March 2004. So basically, sorry, that was a lot of dates, but basically from September 2003 to March 2004, these comics run, which I think they last longer than Gemmis does. I might be wrong about that. This comic comes to an end just as probably Bill Gemmis is heading out the door, but not certain about that. At the very least, he stops being editor or publisher. I wonder if it's even listed. Why didn't you like Planet X?
Well, it was just a shitty. I don't know. It was a bad reveal. It was a bad Magneto retcon. Fucking aged like milk. It doesn't make any sense. How he immediately it's because of the Zorn character, tying him to like a Zen character that cared about the outcome of the school into like a complete maniac with like and granted we're saying that Magneto is just like a mentally ill narcissist maniac, which I mean
it tracks.
That's hard to think of anyone like that these days. But it just doesn't do anything to build any kind of empathy toward any part of the story. And then the best part was the fact that Zorn was likable and working within the school with the special class sort of gave a little bit of like levity to the special class. Mm-hmm. This book takes all of that away, takes all those characters back and basically turns them back into useless runts. And then I'm just reading a book about the special class that I don't care about and a crazy version of Magneto that's like uncharacterized to the point where he's like an NPC. And I didn't drag a lot out of this.
Yeah. Man, that's damning but accurate, man. I got to concede a lot of that, which is fine. Like I'm not a defender of this book. I think you're right. The most embarrassing image, and we'll kind of do a rewind. But so after Magneto takes over New York, and he destroys. So it's in issue 147. You probably have the trade, but this is after he has. There's that 2-page spread by Jimenez where he's just running rampant through the street and destroying buildings.
Yes.
You get another 2-page spread in a moment where it's just Magneto and the special class with Ismay, and it looks fucking embarrassing. Like, it looks stupid. It just looks stupid. Like it makes Magneto has no gravitas in this, and there's no likability, and it ruins the special class because it just makes them mind-controlled jerks. And yeah, so like in sort of typical of this comic, it builds up all this goodwill and it establishes these things, and then I don't know, it can't deliver, and I don't know why. I think I know why, and I have kind of a theory about it, but it doesn't save anything. But I think it's part of the point. Chris, you're a big Planet X fan, I assume.
Huge. I always, like this, obviously everything you say is true. It was enraging the first time I read it. The ultimate punchline is Magneto on drugs, just boiled my blood. It's just such a low, cheap thing to do. At the same time, this read around, I just kind of, because it wasn't a surprise, I found myself enjoying the comedic value of it, particularly in the second issue in this arc.
Right.
It's with like Magneto's media presence and like his interactions with Toad specifically were pretty. Yeah. It's dumb. Like it's not right for the X-Men. It's not right for Magneto. But because it's there and because he went that direction, there is something to it that is amusing until it gets really bleak and we get the full-on like Nazi conversion. Magneto going full circle to extermination, and I don't know. I think the stuff between Jean and Logan pretty good. Mm-hmm. Pretty good emotional beats there too.
I'll agree with that. Yeah, they're of the various plots. There's so you got your Magneto stuff. You've got your it opens up with Professor X. So let's say that's a stream, right? You got Professor X stream. Then you got your Wolverine and Jean, and then you got Beast and Emma Frost. And then I guess also the special class does have a role in all this, like they particularly Beak.
And Ernst.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Cyclops. Or does the Cyclops Phantom X spin around happen too at some point? Or everyone
they just kind of show up.
Their stories all sort of converge at the end.
Yeah. Through the character of Beak. Well, actually, no, not all the characters through Beak. The other one connects through Jean, and then Jean shows up, and then that's where everything, and the three elements, the Magneto, the Beak / Cyclops, the Jean / Wolverine, and Beast and Emma all show up, and blah. So that's the mechanics of it. And everything's interesting. I think I agree, Chris, about every other element of it, other than the most, like, the central element, like all the Magneto stuff. Like, I'd rather watch Beast and Emma bicker with each other on an airplane, like stranded in the sea, and watch Jean and Logan interact with each other as they're hurtling towards the sun. Yeah, that was really cool.
That's a good issue. Yeah,
that's the stuff that kept me going month to month reading this. Like, it is starting to, like, and I recollect being kind of disappointed, but like I was still on board because I trusted Morrison to kind of bring things together, but it was still like starting to disappoint pretty hard. And like in retrospect, like we know that Gemmis is on the horn and accounting is on the horn, and there's issues in the background.
What do you think the influence was from Gemmis? Just sort of like get to a mainstream X-Men plot, or?
It's mostly account. As I understand it, accounting is on the horn with Jemis. They're saying, look, we can't license the X-Men anymore because you made them look like this, right? And also Morrison's doing like some weird kind of side stories and things, and Igor Corday's doing the art, and accounting's like, what the fuck? It's still selling at like top 5 range, right? In comparison to anything that like, and we got to keep in mind, Ultimates is coming out. All the Ultimate lines coming out. You even have JLA versus Avengers, and X-Men's still holding its own at this point.
And by this point, you dropped Frank Quitely completely.
Yes. Yeah. Which honestly, I don't think Quitely's a real draw. I think he's a draw for us and for like people who are aficionados of comics or whatever. But like, I don't know if he actually pushes books. I think maybe certain collaborations kind of get a lot of hype, but I'm starting to get the impression that like one of the reasons he doesn't stick around is because he doesn't have a Jim Lee effect on sales. And so he's like, well, I gotta go do some Jim Lee sales elsewhere.
I think we do get the good Jimenez here too. There seems to be more of a comfort with the characters, or I don't know how to explain it, but like I like the art in both these arcs, and obviously the second one's Silvestri, but I think I was sleeping on Silvestri.
Oh, you sure as shit were, dude. Oh. We'll get to that. I think, Jimenez is both appropriate for this and inappropriate. Like we get like a lot of this. I think it's the coloring doesn't help either, but like
the coloring's bad.
The coloring's really bad. Who did this to us? Chris Chuckery.
Chris Chuck, yeah.
The art is
fucking barbarian
though.
Yeah.
And I have one that has a couple of like samples of Jimenez art at the back, and the art's just amazing. Like the pencil work's amazing, and there's some great beats in the art too, like Magneto curling up the bridge. Wolverine killing Jean is just like an outrageous scene.
Yeah.
And then there's just like there are great like artistic like moments and like sort of like X-Men, them walking into the sun together and stuff. They're fucking those moments are sick. Like
your eyes grow back yet? What am I supposed to see?
Cyclops coming up through the floor. Like there's such, I don't know, you can't hate on it too much because it's such a cohesive like
Yeah.
writing and sequential art bit, So it's like, even if you want to say it's not good, which I did. It is good,
I maintain that we're still right regardless. Like Jimenez can pull it out, and him and Morrison have had a long collaborative relationship at this point, and it shows here. I think that the problem is that everything had started to curdle before it even was served. I don't know, tried to put like curdled milk before you handed it to a good chef to make something. I don't know. The ingredients were all fucked up, and so everybody can be as good a cook as they want, but the meal you get is still going to taste like shit. There we go. I managed to land that metaphor.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's going to make you laugh though.
I was gonna say I'm picking up some of those comedy beats now on a little quick flip through there, Chris. Like when he backhands Beak in the face and calls him a vegetable. I don't fucking, and then he just kills the one-eyed guy.
What the fuck?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Yeah.
Carrots are not a fruit, and this is not Xavier's school. This is Magneto's empire.
I don't know. I wasn't reading it as a comedy, but maybe I missed something here.
I think that's the point. I think like the point of it is farce.
Shouldn't be, yeah.
No, I think actually it's meant to be. I think the point of Magneto in this, and what I was sort of alluding to when I said that there was a plan or an effect, like I think there's a mismatch between. There is some sort of mismatch because you feel it should be high gravity, but what Morrison's doing is like it's like a great dictator bit.
Yes.
Like there.
Yes.
It is the Charlie Chaplin thing. Like what these people they get in power, like, and because Morrison decided way back, just rewind slightly, back in the Invisibles, I think Morrison was still sort of grappling with, with the concept of revolution. And then by the end of The Invisibles, I think Morrison answered that question for themselves. And so the X-Men just becomes a comic where they just play out their conclusions rather than their inquiries. And so at this point, it's determined, that understandably, that dictatorships or that revolution and the desire for like radical change ultimately lead to violence in the death camps and that kind of thing. And so Morrison gets to play, or Magneto gets to play that role. But also there is, he's trying to put it in a media landscape in which this is all ridiculous. And people, what do they say? They have short attention spans and high expectations. So this like high drama. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I love when like he's destroyed Manhattan in a day. He's like gone to speak to his adoring audience from like this height of this building, and he's just turning to Phil. He's like, where did you get this crowd? Like these people have no energy, and it's just like, he turned, and then he's like, oh, I have to go do a stunt, so like Toad, work the crowd for me.
Yeah. Shiny things.
There's a couple things too when he's doing the kick. Just one more hit, babe.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Just this once more.
She's talking to him like, "Are you gonna fling all the humans into space?" Shh, I'm kind of trying to concentrate, Esme.
Yeah.
And so what you say?
It's like pathetic, it's but I just like I think I read it around this time. I was like, I don't know if I was like tired from work, but I was like annoyed. And then when I was reading it, I wasn't reading any comedy at all. I was just like, this is just, you made a crazy Magneto on drugs that doesn't make any sense, and this is dumb.
I think that's the mismatch though. The art, Jimenez doesn't sell the comedy in this, because like everything's illustrated with the same sort of intensity that you'd get with your superhero comic, with the same sort of intensity and precision that we got with like that Genosha Memorial issue, right? Like everything's all flattened out, is my point. And the only place that there's the humor is in the dialogue, and you read it, but it doesn't come off well. And I think I'm a resistant as a fan to it, because I love Magneto as a bad guy and as a character. Like, so much work went into that guy, into making him somewhere like a character. And James, you already alluded to this. Like, he's gone. Where's the Magneto that we know and love? It's not here.
The problem. Yeah, exactly. Like Magneto has, like, defining Magneto is gravitas, and so he's the wrong vehicle for this kind of critique, even though it does come across as funny. Like, it's hard to recognize. There's cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
And so he's turned into a pedophile, or at least he's sleeping with what she's 15. How old is she?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Geez, I didn't go there.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah. I mean, he's manipulating her. I don't think he's actually like. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he might just be stringing her along, like, taking advantage of her
crush
on him. But
I suppose so. Yeah, I guess that's possible. That's
I'll take the undertone that they're banging.
At the very least, because Ismay has a history of this. We saw this way back when she got duped by the Shi'ar Empire robot.
Oh, that's true. She likes cosmic fascists.
Yeah.
And she puts out.
Yeah. She also, and so she sells drugs to the old man. That's like promising. Like,
kick can get you there.
No, and she wants him to be king. Like, it's not like a Lady Macbeth thing, but it kind of is. Yeah. There was actually some shit I wanted to make fun of in the first issue. It's kind of like, I know we went like straight into the Magneto stuff. Issue 146. I just want to talk about, I guess, like Professor X being once again the most useless, absolutely useless, most powerful telepath in the entire galaxy kind of character. Because it opens up really great image, very well rendered by Jimenez. X-Men emergency, and then there's explosions, and everybody's like kicking into action, and then we've got the Zorn thing kind of happening in the background. Jean's taken off. And he's still in the machine. He's just experienced psychically a bunch of explosions and chaos, and like there's an emergency going on. And then cut to 1 page later. Meanwhile, and he's walking down the hall. Did he stop to take a piss? What? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, he just left the emergency center in the moment when all of the X-Men are exploding. And then he can't, like, he's so gullible and stupid and and defensive of Zorn or whatever. And I guess it makes sense. I guess like his disbelief is meant to represent our disbelief that there's this big reveal coming. I just wanted to go to his story, you know, like Xavier's story and all of this. And
also, sorry, but how
yeah.
would magnetic powers, if anything, that student, what's her name?
Sarah?
Yeah, she would be completely resistant to his power.
I think so too. Yeah, and again, this gets back to what I'm saying about magnetism.
Are you saying that he is going to use magnetism to make like tiny sand-sized metal particles to collect all of her particles? Because fuck off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't understand that, and
yeah,
he shouldn't have any command over that situation at all.
And
interesting that he, because he's trying to convert all the students, but he wants her to renounce her Muslim heritage, and like that's the sticking point. That's what drives her to resist.
Yeah, it's a reversal of what we would expect, and like it could have come off really well, like what we would expect, circa 2001, you know, American popular consciousness, you know, that kind of thing. Like, you know, the terrorist is the Muslim, right? And so in this instance, not so much, right? And so it turns out Magneto is the thing, you know, like I think that's what's at play here.
It's that radical atheist to that whole like dark enlightenment pipeline, you know?
Yeah. Which like they put Magneto
to monarchist. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like it's that sort of like, you know, like, oh, you need to renounce these things that tie us to the past, but then you become something that is just a tyrant at the same time. Like that's really what you want.
Yeah. So and you see kind of that in what does he say? Without guidance, without effective creed, I've watched your dream run rampant, watched discipline fail. And I don't know, like I don't know if that is kind of definite. You know, that is what Magneto represents, but I'm not sure that. I don't know, as a statement, it kind of irked me because, like, as a statement, Xavier does have a creed, you know, like peaceful integration, like, but it's going to get chaotic, and it has been, and we'll find out why. But the answer is drugs. It's been chaotic because of drugs and youth.
There's that great line before we move on. Where he says, you know, like I've been educating the next generation of terrorists right under your nose, which is that's a real stab in the back moment. Like that, I was upset by that. You know, they're just like subverting this peaceful school right under Charles's nose. It just like there are a couple of great moments for Charles in this whole arc, but yeah, Grant really doesn't. Like on one hand, we've talked about how at least he doesn't do the perv Xavier, like the sort of like the menace, but he's you can just get away with anything around this guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's so many bad Magneto power gaps too, where it's like first it was the sand thing, then once he like, I like that he took his ability to walk away. That was awesome. You know, great moment. I'll suspend my disbelief for that one. I'll even let Charles Xavier be so horrified by that that he doesn't immediately turn Magneto into a fucking vegetable when he takes his helmet off. Which he didn't. Let's just say he's too sad. Fuck, whatever. But then he literally, it's verbatim said that Toad brings him back, and he wasn't very hard. So then you let Toad kidnap you, even though I'm believed, fully conscious at the time, and put you in a test tube where your psychic powers are disabled. You fucking joking?
Because he can't walk
you couldn't
now, man.
Be more inept. I'm like, okay, well, let's just, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing is, X-Men fans are nerds, man, and there's a specific world we're living in the X-Men universe where powers do specific things, and you can bend it, but he broke it here many times.
Yeah.
Many times.
Oh,
yeah.
Speaking of which, I got a nerd complaint too. The way that he goes out of his way to say like Wolverine couldn't smell him. Like Wolverine smells everything. That's so that's enraging.
Yeah.
And then the moment where he's like, oh, I thought it was too obvious. A prison made of iron.
Yeah, what?
A star for a brain. Like, what? That's just some sleight of hand bullshit.
No, and actually, I commented on this before. I was like, does like a star, like magnets and stars don't really, like, I know that I'm sure magnets are involved in stars, but they produce light, and light has nothing to do with magnetism. And so you're like, what? Morrison, stop it.
No, and then there's also the fact that like he's like everybody went, you know what I mean? Like Zorn's past was fully revealed and rendered, and he's like, yeah, my Chinese bros helped me set that up. Like, fuck, what?
Yeah, his Zen
Chinese
diaries.
Bros, you had Chinese Zen followers? No.
No,
that's not. You can't just say that in one sentence.
Well, the beauty of Morrison is that you can, and it's fun when it happens. Because like when this comic came out, I fist pumped. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like I was like when Magneto was revealed as like Zorn at the end, I was like, because I honestly didn't see it coming because it was such a Jeff Loeb fucking shit show. I read those lines and I was like, whoa, I wonder what's gonna happen next issue, and then the disappointment started to set in.
You're 3 issues deep and you're like, oh,
wait a minute. But yeah, when the X-Men emergency indeed, Charles, and you're just like, whoa, Magneto's back, and you're like, I don't know, man, that was cool. It's not cool now that we're adults because we're all grown up and we know that this is not a cool comic, but
this is, and you know what though, I'm actually flipping through it right now. I'm thinking that he gave us like 1 issue pop jerk off moments too, like for each issue. Each issue had like a big fucking wabam,
Mine is Charles in a tank.
Yeah. yeah, that's right. They fucking put Charles in a test tube. Magneto's revealed. Wolverine literally kills Jean Grey. So they were giving you 1 issue. What the fucks, to drop every week and come back.
Yeah, and they're building up to, and Morrison always does that. But like I think it is coming to a head because like I don't know when Morrison decided they were gonna just truncate their run, but it has to be around this time, right? They're like there's a wrap up. Like maybe the reveal of Zorn could have happened at any time, right? It was simmering in the background.
Right.
I would really like. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, who called Silvestri? That's what I want to know.
I don't know the answer to that question either.
He hasn't worked with Marvel since, to the best of my knowledge.
No, he's done some DC stuff since then. But yeah, Silvestri came back. I mean, he has a long history with the X-Men, and they probably just backed up the old dump truck full of money and said, "Come on over, boy." That'll get people all the milkshakes. The milkshake brings all the boys to the yard.
How much, Mark? Oh, well,
Incidentally,
well.
Incidentally, to answer my question earlier about when Bill Jemas is out, by issue 151, Dan Buckley is the publisher. And maybe it's in the
So
credits.
he finished Planet X up for us, then did Bill Jemas.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Issue 150 is Dan Buckley. So yeah, Jemas fucking everyone, like, he just did so much damage. Dan Buckley's issue 149.
I wonder if Dan Buckley's friends with Mark Silvestri.
I don't know. I wish I would have done some research on Dan Buckley.
He's like, I need
How
a
many more
favor.
times can we say Dan Buckley? Dan Buckley. Dan Buckley. No, Bill Jemas is still publisher or president by issue 148. Yeah, and then I think he starts falling off. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that. I'm reading these on the fly. Either way, Jemas is out the door. Morrison's out the door. The damage is done.
Here comes tomorrow.
Yeah, here comes. I think there's still some more Planet X things to say.
Oh, you got more Planet X? Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe we do. Do we, Chris?
I guess we haven't really talked about the last issue of it, or really
or any Wolverine gene stuff. I guess that kind of needs to be talked about.
It kind of like it doesn't. Like it's good character moments. I don't know if there's a lot to say about it really.
Yeah, I don't have any notes. Like it was like my notes for issue 4 is poor Ismay and boys. And my notes for 150 is Xavier School is best school.
That's deep for sure. Nice.
Oh no, I did find myself okay. So at the very end, when they finally take care of Magneto, it's kind of clever because he's been hearing from Zorn the whole time, and they're like, "We really liked Zorn." They call him a Zorn Vestite. Yeah, I just like, I guess a nerd thing is that like Cyclops does this thing where he like shoots his blaster into his eyes beams directly into Magneto's helmet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that would kill him. That doesn't make any sense. And it's force beams. Why is his face all burnt? It's like it's a concussion beam. And so I had a lot of trouble with that as a nerd.
A lot of disrespect.
Yeah.
To the nerd culture.
Yeah. And then getting back to the comedy thing, it's like he's like, "Oh, look what you did to my face," and Cyclops is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." It's completely inconsistent with the Cyclops we've seen up until this point, who's a stone cold fucking executioner, right?
Yeah.
And I know he's been through some stuff, but like it was fucking dumb.
The liquid earrings into Esme's brain to make her a gurgling vegetable was sweet. I like that she really like endured like gurgling for like many pages also.
Oh, that's always awful. Nice. You always want that.
Earring lobotomy.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Hug.
Yeah, good.
Sizzling and tearing up like.
Oh Christ, good. I hope I never say utter those sounds. That's, you know what happened. And so then Magneto, this is actually kind of cool. Magneto then puts on the Zorn helmet, and Zorn's always had a menacing visage, right? He's a skull man, like a metal skull man. And previously, that he was the gentle metal skull-faced man, and that dichotomy was interesting. That was one of the, like, he's encaged, right? Whereas suddenly it just becomes what it is, which is just like a death face. Like he becomes like a Terminator character. And this was one of the values of Zorn, like as a character that he had on the comics page within the superhero universe, like the symbol of he was a potent symbol. Putting aside like even the character or anything, there was a lot to work with there. And so then when he becomes this Terminator-esque character, that's when everybody turns on him, right?
Yeah.
And and specifically who turns on him is the heroes of 9/11.
Where did the heroes of 9/11 come from?
The Foster NYPD. I noticed like when Magneto's like terrassing through New York and he's destroying everything, that 2-page spread. Look at the background. you got your firefighters, you got your police officers, your emergency response personnel. Like, there's no citizens. He's attacking the heroes of 9/11. And so, of course, the heroes of 9/11 are gonna resist, and the X-Men are gonna help, because he's a terrorist, right?
Yeah.
And it's very in keeping with Bill Gem. Sorry, one last thought. It's very in keeping with Bill Gemma's era Marvel Comics, which was very much into like lionizing the heroes of 9/11, which probably pretty legit for a comics publisher coming out of New York.
Very true. Riffing off that the idea of the value of Zorn as a symbol. This whole thing kind of becomes this weird. I don't know what to make of it. I've been thinking about this, and I think one thing this comic, maybe it taps into Morrison's infatuation with branding and advertising and logos and things like that.
Yeah.
But Magneto is basically a brand through all of this, but he becomes a brand that loses touch with his his core values. And that's his undoing, because when he's on the rooftop, the Toad's like, they can't see you, like they don't know your Shakespearean stuff doesn't play well with this crowd. And he's like, when did a good vocabulary and education become an impediment? And but then like he can't reach the common man on the street. They want to see like a crazy thing, so he reaches back into the past and like, you know what, I'm gonna pull out this old hacky trick I have, which is like I'm gonna reverse the poles of the earth and destroy mankind. But then even that he can't commit to. He's like, oh, you know what, we're gonna need slaves to like collect garbage and like sweep the sewers, so like we can't just switch immediately. He's just constantly selling out. And then the implication of Zorn, the mask, I think it must be No Girl or is it Cassandra? The implication that Ernst is Cassandra Nova.
Yes,
so maybe like
Ernst
her,
is,
yeah, the psychic powers are coming through, but like the mask starts talking to him, saying like, I'm your conscience. You can't get rid of me. You made me too well. So like that dogs him. And then when he comes down from the tower, he's got the mask on. No one recognizes him. And so they're like, the people turn on him. Like, this guy can't even like manage his way out of a paper bag. Like, who's going to follow him? So it's just this weird experiment in branding gone wrong. And I don't know if that's meant to reflect on comics in general, like these sort of like, because like Charles scolds him at the end, and he finally gets a great moment too. Yeah, where he's like, you have nothing that the new generation wants except for your face on a T-shirt. So like even his image becomes double-edged. He's more useful dead as a symbol than alive.
But I think I view this last Planet X as so it's right in at Xavier's is the closing down of an ideological pathway. So like Morrison's like ideological or a 90s cynicism, nothing's real, man. Leads in geekdom and fandom and that sort of thing, like in the MCU generally, leads towards fascistic tendencies in culture. And so he closes that down. Boom. That's a bad pathway, and like maybe something deeper is at work. Let's move on. And then we get within that same sort of, milieu, like the superhero, the geek milieu. What if it's not just that he becomes out of touch as a brand, like even as a T-shirt, he's a failure. I think Xavier doesn't recognize what happened. Like he was an inspiration to
Quentin.
To Quentin, yeah. And so in this, like what we're getting is a commentary on just like the cyclical, old-fashioned, just your sad supervillain story. Like there's a reason he picked Magneto, because like it's just another Magneto story.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
and it's
Esby accuses him of like, I think you want them to stop you, and like that's like he's hesitating, right, and like he's just like waiting for the X-Men to come along. I thought that was an interesting insight.
Yeah. But when he and so the other the other ideological thing that's getting Zorn is like the transformation from Zorn to Magneto represents or reflects what I view as the left-wing environmentalist new age pathway to fascism. In the same way that there's the libertarian pathway to fascism, like it's like you end up with these Zen homilies and all this peacefulness and yoga, and at the same time you just wish that someone would eradicate your enemies, and make a nice clean world.
There's a lot of roads to fascism, man.
No, it's they're no good. And so it's kind of a self-critique a little bit on Morrison's part, because he's definitely of that writer of Animal Man, Grant Morrison, writer of The Invisibles, Grant Morrison. Nonetheless, I call bullshit on Xavier's statements in this. Like that Xavier suddenly gets to say, like, I side with the youth. Dude, you already tried that. Like way back when. Like turn your mind back to the way, like the proclamations of Jean and Emma when Professor X was often like possessed by Cassandra Nova. They took over the school and they're like, we want to listen to the youth. We'd love your ideas and stuff. And he gets back and everything turns to shit. He didn't listen to the youth. He's never listened to the youth. And like maybe now he's like, actually, I guess I should have listened to the youth like Emma and Jean were doing. But like that's much less noble than what we're presented with here. Like he should really, like he was going to resign from the school. Like he's a fucking disgrace. But he's presented here as this pathway into the future, and we should listen. Like who else said that? Warren Ellis. I'm just going to listen now. I mean that's not fair, but that's something that these people say. When they fucked up, and true. They just want it. So I don't buy it. I think it's unfair to the story we've been hearing thus far.
I don't agree with this, but if listening to these, like Quentin tried to tell him a lot of stuff too. He did. I guess he mind controlled his fellow students too, but
yeah,
was a huge bitch, and like was just enacting his rage about his parents or whatever. But
yeah.
So he probably doesn't. He doesn't get representative status.
So the question that we're left with as we go into Here Comes Tomorrow is what pathway is open? Where and ultimately it ends up, I guess spoilers, it's just like only if Cyclops decides to lead the school. That's it, man. That's the ideological pathway forward. Cyclops just accepting the fact that he wants a cold bitch to step on his balls.
Cyclops aligning with like old school British
oh shit, yeah, with the aristocracy. Yeah. I don't like one of the things that has always frustrated me about the new X-Men is that it shows it promised to tackle issues and sort of provide some answers and like to be really subversive within a mainstream environment in the way that Morrison was doing with JLA. But now it was like we could get into some real nitty gritty stuff, and it's just like there's no there. Morrison doesn't have a thing to teach the world. And I think new X-Men kind of, I'll say a little bit more as we get into new X-Men. I think Morrison has a lot to say about something, but I'm not convinced it's about the world.
Okay.
So, Here Comes Tomorrow.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. All right. So issue 151 to 154. So Mark Silvestri does the art. He's not inking. There's a million inkers on. I have no idea. No, I don't think so. I think he has like a dude that he works with to do the inking. But I just noticed that the front cover doesn't mention any inkers, and then you turn the page to the credits, and you're like, oh, I see why, because he often has 3 or 4 inkers. and you'd never know. I certainly wouldn't. Like, sometimes you can really tell when there's a bunch of different inkers. It feels like Silvestri throughout. So I just wanted to just note that before we get into the meat of the comic, that Silvestri is indomitable. So Chris, you said you were sleeping on Mark. What pleased you this time around?
I don't even know how to explain. As I read this, like, it was like I forgot that I was reading a comic. Like, everything is so dynamic, everything looks so fantastic that it just flows. It flows so well. And I didn't think about it. I know you guys are going to do a better job talking about this, but I was really impressed.
Yeah. Well, fucking that's a fantastic compliment to hold. I think a lot should be handed over to our colorist though as well. Steve can't read it in this, ironically, because of the colors. I couldn't. Who's the colorist? Steve Furchow. Oh, okay, we got multiple colorists on some of these issues too, though, which tells me that the pencils were really late. And probably Morrison was really late. It was probably like an utter shit show at this point because they're just trying to wrap things up and make some money.
The other thing too is, like, imagine being like a run-of-the-mill fucking inker or colorist who just finished working maybe on, like, I'll just say, like, all you have to do is flip through a bit of Jimenez's work, which is great and detailed, and then look at this. And just imagine if you were supposed to be doing the exact same job on this work. Like, from a pencil perspective, like, if I was looking at this and they were like, hey, just go ahead and ink this baby in for me, I'd be like, fuck right off. It's going to take me triple time.
No, but I don't know if that's fair because there's a lot of marks. Like, they're both high like mark makers. I think I'm looking at it. You're right. Like, Jimenez does a lot of blank spaces or whatever, like in your classic trying to meet a deadline style.
Jimenez's portraits are comparable in detail and depth and scale. Everything is perfect, but there's something else, like in terms of backgrounds and like action sequences and stuff. This is different. The depth is different, and it's wild.
Yeah, I can't disagree, even though, like, I do think that there's a similar number of marks on each page, but with Silvestri, getting to Chris's point, like go to like page 1 of issue 151, like the beginning of Here Comes Tomorrow. You've got your ocean. It's like a John Woo fucking story. You got the and they get the excellent fucking colors. You got this figure coming in. You're watching him slowly, like he's coming towards you, but something's also coming slowly towards him, and then suddenly something's in front of us. We're moving from background to foreground. We're zooming in, like there's all the elements of comic sort of action from a real pro, like someone who's been in the business for a long time and has the chops and knows how to sell fucking books and put asses in the seats. And it's a thrill to see someone like this with Morrison, because Morrison really thrives off of an artist who can express themselves on the page. Like, like we see it with Whiteley or whatever. Like, whenever Morrison, I don't know.
The writing's different. You can tell that he's treating it different. Like, he's giving it a different treatment. And it's because he can do even just watching the page 3 where you're seeing the Sentinel like obliterate those night crawlers into bones. Yeah. That's fucked. That's fucked. I can't imagine that in my head ever. And seeing it rendered is shocking and incredible. And asking some artists to do that, there's certain people you couldn't.
And it all passes the you don't need to read the words test generally. Sometimes the things are a little like, but for the most part, you're like, okay, I know what's going on. We're good. So what is going on in this comic now that we've now that we washed the balls of Mark Silvestri.
Anytime, I'm ready for it.
Anytime. Well, I'm sure we'll do it again. Like, there's so many. Oh, yeah, and getting to the question of who normally inks him, I assume it's this guy, Joe Weems, because he inks issue 154 exclusively. But he's been, like, the primary inker throughout all of this, but it had a little bit of an assist.
He used to have at some points he had inks from Scott Williams in his career, the big dog.
Yeah. I think
that's like Cyberforce days. I don't know how often Scott Williams works with him or worked with him in the past, but enough for me to find
I get the impression that at a certain point they found their, like, they married. You know, Jim married Scott Williams and they moved off. Silvestri married Weems and then they moved off, right? You know, and then they were just like, look, we're a production house in and of ourselves. We're going to make the Darkness with Garth Ennis and, you know, Witchblade, and it's, you know, we're going to have our own little spice over here.
Witchblade all day, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, with this one, we'll go with James. So you were you thought a little less of this time around.
Yeah, I still like you say, the sequential art's like so fun in this one, and it's such a finished package too that it's hard to hate on it. I just don't. I think the shift from murdering Magneto, which, like, the decisions, I don't know at what point, but I know that somebody lit up a cigarette at some point and was like, Grant Morrison's X-Men is not canon ever. That was probably in the first book.
And at some point,
that's and they really, like, you could see he leaned into it, and that's a lot of this feels just like, right, there's such a jarring transition into this that I just feel that it's just right off the rails, I don't know. I found some things like hokey, the Stepford Cuckoos, the Wolverine reveals, and I did like the full circle from Scott making the decision to quit the X-Men and then at the end kissing Emma and making the decision to rejoin the X-Men. That's a nice circular thing to do in the book, like in this story. So I do like this better than Planet X, but I don't know that I hold it in as high regard as I did when I was 24.
Well, that's fair. I think I guess what I'd say is, like, the off the rail. So, you know, think of Days of Future Past. There's a tradition. You know, think of Age of Apocalypse. Think of, like,
this feels like that with, like, mushrooms.
Yes, well, that's fair. That's fair, but nonetheless, there is a tradition for it, right? And it's and Morrison's quite good at this. Even in their JLA run, during the Rock of Ages storyline, there's 2 issues, like a post-apocalyptic future where, like, a ragtag group of JLA they have to fight Darkseid, and, you know, and it's fucking awesome. And, like, in a different universe, I would have thought to pair those things with Here Comes Tomorrow. See what results, because there's similarities, various serious similarities, but Morrison's also at the same time like I don't know, I guess this is kind of to your point. It's more like, I think it's more of a feature than a bug. Like, Morrison at the end of this kind of just reboots. It's like, look, and they won. They're like, everything that happened up until this point was fucking insane. And you know who was who was the cause of it all? A 3 million-year-old rogue bacterial colony. Like, okay. And then the Phoenix comes in and just resets the whole fucking thing. And you know why? Because it's comics, folks.
But there's a mode. I think there's a mode that Morrison operates in, and I fucking love it. And it's just, they just do the freewheeling, like, imagination riffing off of everything. It's a fucking, it's madness. It's just like madcap, and it doesn't need to explain the gaps. It's just going. There's a whale X-Men. fuck, why not? Who gives a fuck? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
happening.
Africa is just all insects now? Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a treat. And then I think maybe the only way that they can get away with it sometimes is that promise that it's, we played with the toys, we're going to put it back in a box at the end, and the next person can move on.
Yeah, and that's the phoenix egg analogy through the whole thing, is that, like,
True.
I'm about to give birth to fucking piecing out. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of things too, like the Beast is just like, the Beast's just a fucking Mr. Sinister ripoff.
Yes.
So there's like, they're not even, it was maybe supposed to come off grand, and I feel like that dials it back. And then the other thing's the most, like, I don't know, like, you got, who's your character? The most emotional resonance is felt by, for me, is the Sentinel, is Rover.
Yeah.
Tom, Skylark, and Rover, you spend probably the most time with in this book, and the most emotional beats happen with that fucking Sentinel. And I just, like, you can't help but ask yourself, like, fucking why?
I think that's the point, though. Again, like, the thing that you're identifying as a problem is, and maybe Chris was about to say this as well, is like the point, because it's a world in which, like, emotional relation, like, there's Morrison at this point. Well, no, this gets to what you were saying with it starts off with Scott, and he's like, I'm walking away from the X-Men. At the end, then he kisses Emma, right? And I'm choosing relationships. I'm choosing to have empathy with my fellow human, and to fall in love with people, and here comes tomorrow in love, right? Like, that's the thing that Morrison's ultimate, like, it's hokey, it's primordial at the same time, though. Like, it does have depth at the same time that it doesn't. But yeah, go ahead.
I wish that was the thing I was going to say. That's a good point.
Oh, well, there you go. What was the thing that you were going to say?
The thing I was going to say was that I think part of what makes it work for me is that it captures, because so much time has passed, there's so much distance, that you have all these reversals of characters. And one thing that is reversed is just a situation like that now humanity's on the verge of extinction, and the only thing guarding it is a Sentinel, which is now a good guy because like that's the only thing it can protect. Like, the forces are so overwhelming against the odds that you kind of need something that powerful. By the same token, Beast becomes it's another, like, grand reversal of, now the Sentinel program is a mutant genetics program that he's taken over, and like the threat, it's the same thing. It's the Days of Future Past threat, but now it's like Nightcrawlers that have expanding like power sets, because he's encoding them in Mr. Sinister style. It just really grasps the essence of, like, the stakes, like big stakes in X-Men, and giving you, like, those grand reversals of characters. Like, Cassandra Nova is now the last hope of, like, Charles' vision, like, then how much has had to have happened. Like, it just lets you, like, think about how much would have had to have happened to get to this point.
150 years of fucking absolute chaos.
And because Scott won't fuck Emma.
Yeah, right? Because he's just like, no. Yeah. I'm too burdened with guilt.
Ridiculous.
For the fact that it's like he, fine, he engaged in adultery or whatever, and then his wife was sort of found out, and there was she died during, prior to their reconciliation, but she's like, she's passing away, she's like my best friend, like there's still love there, but like, and she says, I've never seen you more alive, like live, and it's just all about Cyclops' repression. As long as this is, like, you might actually view this as what's going on inside Cyclops' mind. And because there is and I know I go to this well a lot, but there's a dreamy quality to these 4 issues, which allows everything that you were talking about, Chris, like, just everything's out there. And you're like, no way does this make any sense in any, like, quote unquote realistic comic book universe. Like, this is just way out.
Yeah. A little
Because
detail that
why?
I picked.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No.
Oh, this just in the first episode we did about this, I pointed out, and I thought about this the whole time. Beast has a little like Beauty and the Beast rose on his desk, and I feel like all this time Morrison knew that they were gonna jump ahead to this, like, because Beast does have this kind of Beauty and the Beast quality to it. Like, he's the way he protects, but also is trying to corrupt the Phoenix egg or like Jean when she gets back. He's in his tower. He's isolated. He's like enraged at the world. I mean, it's not him. It's Sublime, but like, there's that dynamic, a fairy tale.
Don't call him that.
That's his name, man. Sublime.
It's the worst reveal.
Yeah. It is the aerosol drugs.
Yeah. Okay, so you know what? So what's the story? We find out at the issue of 154. Here's what happened. So Scott walked away, or is it 154? Yeah, because Jean's starting to figure out like that she's been manipulated as the Phoenix Force, and she's like, what happened? So Scott left. So where did Emma go? She didn't try to teach either. And then so Hank tried his best. What the fuck happened to Wolverine? He's whitewashing this entire history. like it's just like Scott left and we all like abdicated responsibility except for Hank, and then one day he got mind controlled and now we're fucked. Like I don't know, like it takes all the heroism out of, like it's very frustrating.
I think the implication of Scott's the heart, because like if Emma were doing it as the headmaster, we kind of know like her students all just die or like become femme fatales, so you need some moderation there.
But this comic positions Wolverine as Morrison has positioned Wolverine throughout this, is like Morrison is the ultimate student of Xavier. Like he's probably more Xavier than Xavier. Like he's learned to control his bestial nature. He, in this he gives that fucking speech about, ancient Rome, they had whatever, like he's got this potted wisdom to him, that and willingness to fight for what's right, that is ultimately a representative of the Xavier's dream. And why didn't he support Hank? And he has a good relationship with Emma. Like, who cares? Like, fine, Scott's left before, and the X-Men have continued.
It's true. Yeah.
So, like, and it's fine. I understand the conceit, but it's just like it's a lot of hand waving. And I do find, and since I brought it up, I might as well say, like, this like analogy of the Roman Empire or whatever. Like, they had all this stuff, and then within 100 years it was gone. Like, that's not true. Like, those things still happened for hundreds of years. And then, they just kind of moved geographical locations and survived for millennia afterwards. And so, I don't know. Like, I don't like. This gets to what I was saying about this comic. I don't think it's about the real world. It's about something else. It's about, and I think it's ultimately just about comics. And this, when Sublime says, like, what is he? Oh shit. There's the future will belong to mass-produced biological conformity.
Mm-hmm.
He's not talking about anything other than superhero comics.
I agree.
And the biological conformity is your punch-up, straight-laced Captain America comic, right? It just like this. Fine, maybe that's unfair to Captain America comics. I don't know. Fucking. What's the most Spider-Man? Spider-Man is your most generic fucking comic, generally speaking. Like, I think, and Superman.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. And that's the future mass-produced, underoos and stuff like that. So it's, and it's about, I don't think it's about Gemmis. I think it's about the accounting department putting pressure on Gemmis, and Gemmis, of course, being an asshole. But at the end of the day, like, Morrison's leaving because they want X-Men underoos. And they don't want this weird shit anymore, despite the fact that it's selling big numbers, because the comics are not the important thing. The products are the important thing. That's what makes millions and millions of dollars. Not the 100,000 fucking basement losers who read this stuff, myself included, us included. Like they don't care. That's peanuts. But if you can't sell X-Men stuff that is in conformity with, like the X-Men 96 cartoon at that time, to use the example, then yeah.
And the enemy is a cookie cutter, like a Nightcrawler that's like, replicating endlessly.
Yes. Yeah. And so getting back to Claremont's run, they had little Bamf dolls, little like within continuity. It was a it was kind of a little mass-produced Nightcrawler thing. There's always been this idea of like Nightcrawler being this cute thing that could be mass-produced. I think that's being riffed on in this, and and also it's a good image, right? That Bamf, and the sulfur and the demons. It does an incredible injustice to Nightcrawler as a character. I would have loved to have seen Morrison's Nightcrawler. So many missed opportunities.
No, man, he got fucking done Ridley Scott style, just fucking genetically worked on.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Is that?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of action at the end. And it's just kind of, Wolverine, cool. Oh, okay. The death of Rover, the worst. Because Buddy's trying to he's trying to hook up with the robot.
That's right.
And all you can do is you can be like, in the future, in the post-apocalyptic future, I could understand how he could be so hard up.
Well, she's got great.
Well, he's real great,
and he has a good connection with her. Yeah, like I think there's definitely some consent happening. No,
and he was raised by a robot, right? Like, and so he's found, and this is it. Like, so EVA in this case represents like the bizarre machine, like the human interaction. So he was raised by the Sentinel, raised by like a death machine, a machine that exists to eliminate biological conformity. But through mutation, ironically, like Chris was saying, there's a reversal. And he raised the human, and the human is thereafter going to like have sex with something weird, because that's how the future propagates. Like, here comes tomorrow, right?
I mean, we're almost there.
Yeah. Almost there.
Yeah, we got sex bots coming down the pipes.
Yeah, and then after that, jeez.
I don't think we might not make it there.
Yeah,
to the promised land.
I'm hoping for you guys haven't watched Did you end up watching Subservience?
I did actually. I did.
Yeah, Terminator sex robots. I think that's
There you go.
Yeah, there's no better way to go.
Yeah. So Sublime, he's. Oh no, you were going to say something, Chris.
I'm sorry. No, I don't mean to cut you off, but before we move on, I think some of that, some of the metaphor, I think does. I can see how you might take it for queer culture too, like the diversity of these sort of non-traditional relationships, just like the just variety and I mean, like, they literally say the term diversity, but versus sort of like the heteronormativity, just like the mass produced sort of like aggressive and that sort of thing.
I think what undermines that though is the fact that like the Xavier Institute, like they collect all these monuments like the Taj Mahal, and they're operating out of Notre Dame, and they've got like all these things, like they've accumulated all these signifiers of civilization, of like these like it's all about capital C civilization, and that's why Wolverine gives that speech about like, civilization could collapse so easily within 100 years. But think about what those particular symbols are, like Superman and Spider-Man and all the various, like the pillars, your Wonder Woman and and maybe even Captain America. I don't know, just like your mainstays, like the big uns, right? And those are the things that are being preserved somehow, even though the X-Men represent the weirdos and the diversity. Like what does, I think Sublime at some point, like he talks about how they're like endlessly proliferating weirdos, something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just like the X-Men are the last bastions of at the same time the status quo. At the same time as they are also diversity. Like they're, I use this. I'm going to use this phrase again. I used it last podcast. They can't. He blows and sucks at the same time, and you're just like, well, what is this? You know. But I think that's part of the heady stew that's like, and the reason I love this comic is because there's just so much at play, and like, I think I would like it less if it didn't have this ambiguity and capacity
messy.
to and like that's what
good.
allows that's the good stuff.
Yeah,
I don't want it to fucking make sense, and like, but also it also really does make sense, like when Wolverine's talking to Jean Grey, like that interaction, like she's coming down as the Phoenix. She's like, you know, she's given all this extinction is part of the cycle of natural growth and death, new life will come. And then Wolverine's like, give me a break with this hoo-ha, will you, Jeannie? Hank was a doctor. Doesn't destroy all intelligent life sound like the sort of idea he'd come up with? And then she's like, oh, actually, now that I think about it, and again, this gets back to like Wolverine being at the center of all of this. Like he cuts through the bullshit. He's almost Phoenix-like at this point. He cuts away the lies, and then allows the Phoenix to manifest itself. Yeah,
that's an emotional beat, I'd say too. Well, it takes Wolverine to get there.
Yeah, fucking right. Well, he killed her, and now he brings her back. Like, and that's what I think. That's another thing that works about this is just like there's actually precious little Scott in this, and it's a Wolverine Jean story, and that's what was so compelling about Planet X. He gave me more of what I wanted, and then because that's the more interesting relationship, and Scott and Emma is a more interesting relationship, and there's a genius in having just recognized that one simple fact, and not fact, but I mean like imaginative leap, and
the fate of all of their the fate of mainstream comics depends on Marvel recognizing and preserving at least that. Is almost the implication. Oh, speaking of which, I like how going back a little bit, I like how Morrison booby traps the tunnels as he's leaving too. Like when Wolverine, it is in the heading for the sun. Yeah, he's like, like, am I this guy? Did I have all these memories? And it's just sort of like he leaves the possibility of it being a false implantation of memories from the Weapon X program. I appreciate that.
Yeah. But then also gives respect to it. Actually, she was crying for help. And that's Morrison's gift. You know, like they incorporate and transcend or whatever. Triplets rule. Oh Christ.
You guys say all this like nice stuff, and the whole time I'm just looking at this gimp.
Oh, Paul!
You promised me.
Well, he's ultimately he's the last of the U-men, you know, and they were always pathetic losers or whatever. So I guess it makes sense.
What is he just like in eternal pain?
Yeah.
And he kind of rips his face off at the end. Perfected. Ah!
Yeah, exactly. And the beat is dead. Yeah, no, and he represents like this is the septic, like he embodied within this Apollyon the Destroyer is like that's nerd culture itself, you know, like sort of rummaging around in the background like a Renfield. I've got issue 147. It's in a slab. And I just wish that I too am slabbed. And he just wants freedom, right? Like, and I guess that's maybe the beauty of this is that Morrison has taken the slabbing of a comic book and just and thought about like what would happen if the comic within that slab was pressurized to the point that it wanted to explode. What would that look like? And I think again, you know, like that's not in this comic, but I can easily imagine that being like a permutation of what this comic wants to say. And And then at the same time, you still get these really nice beats, like Wolverine's dying. And so is fucking Skylark or whatever, and he's coming over to hug the machine that's fucking dying. And it's just about embracing emotion and relationships at the end of everything. And then so you still get both. You get all the highfalutin ideas, but then you get something concrete, and it's about feelings, which you want. I mean, that's kind of sadly that's one of the things that's often missing from comics is feeling. Yeah, and this comic manages to do it.
Oh, that big moment of Jean's like final training to like heal the universe, like that's fucking appropriate.
All the
Phoenix
like
work.
when she's in the whatever the room is, like the Phoenix disinfection successful, or do you mean
the white hot room, and then like all the other Phoenixes are kind of like backing her, just kind of like watching her do her thing.
And one of them's Quentin, the one that says
that.
like it's and it's like I would just let it if you wanted to grow a new future to replace the one you just cut away, you have to water it with your heart's blood. That's what they said in the way they've got. And they said it was, I was to tell you to hurry. Have we met? Yeah, hundreds of times. But if it was me, I'd just let it die. Like Quentin is the Phoenix that would just let the Marvel universe die. And honestly, he's me, right? And like, I would just let all of this shit die. I would let it die like tomorrow. Fucking end it. I would gladly, like, if I had a big red button to destroy all comics, like mainstream superhero comics, I'd end them all right now. But, no.
Jean laughs at you.
Yeah, she does. Live, Scott. Live. And that's like, but there's a beauty in that. Like, there's let the serialized entertainment continue. Why not? Like let these things continue. And Morrison, because Morrison loves all these fucking things, right? And boom.
And then, every 20 years you get something good, and
it lasts.
They can make movies out of it, and they can sell toys from it.
Yeah, fucking right, man. And Didio knew what he was talking about. Sometimes you don't even we haven't, Chris, you and I and James together haven't talked about Jonathan Hickman's House of X, Powers of 10, all that stuff. Like that's your 20-year thing, but it got cut short by the pandemic, I think. But I worry perhaps that it didn't. I think it was just like, it was honestly just like a little flower that then the petals blew away immediately.
No, yeah, but I think I'm of the opinion that the load was expended in the first, like, whatever that was, 6-issue times 2.
Yeah.
And then everybody, and then it was, I suspect it was known that there was nothing else in the tank.
I think the beauty of Jonathan Hickman is that he never knows that there's not enough in the tank, and then he just keeps going or whatever. Like he's this I think that's his secondary mutation. But that's a conversation for another time. Honestly, don't ever make me do it. Don't make me, like, I went, sorry, this is off topic, but I started skimming through the Infinity trade paperback.
Oh, I have. I remember.
Yeah. Oh God, it's just God fucking awful. If you ever, like, I think maybe one day we'll make a meal out of it. 1 year, maybe we'll just like slowly work through Jonathan Hickman's something, and you'll see and understand why I groan at like, I just feel like there's the dense matter just weighing down on me.
Episode 400.
Yeah, that's right. Whereas with Morrison, like, even though this was kind of tedious and a little annoying throughout, with I would say like kind of a firework ending, it still feels light, right? Yeah. It's nimble. To compare it to Jonathan Hickman, who is like, he's never danced in his entire life. He doesn't know what dancing means. Like every comic book is a trompe for him, just a trudge through his own fucking stupid bullshit. And Morrison dances through their bullshit. And I honestly, I prefer dancing to a trudge. I don't know, maybe it's unfair. Like you have to accept the premise of my comment in order to agree with me, but you must.
I accept it. I read
same.
Like I didn't read the X-Men because his X-Men because I read something I can't remember what it was. It was like the sort of like horror comic. Can't remember the title, but it was like Wall Street with demons, and I thought like they're very cool premise.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it. It's all in black and white, kind of.
Yeah. It's so wordy that I was like,
so wordy.
So I agree with you. I think, I got a sense of the trudge.
Yeah.
Enough that I will wholeheartedly follow you there.
There we go. Okay. So fine. It was kind of stupid, but at the end so it introduces. There's a ramification to the new X-Men. What did I write? I gotta find it somewhere. They refer to a flaw or a hole in things, a hurt. And this metaphor, this idea is like going to really give rocket fuel to Morrison throughout the next phase of their career. Throughout their Batman run, throughout Final Crisis.
Seven Soldiers.
I think less. I think less Seven Soldiers. Although no, I don't know. No, I don't think so. So I reread Seven Soldiers recently. I didn't get that impression, but I think with the Batman run and I think with Final Crisis, I think this Morrison is turning towards like what something within the mainstream, like a big property, right? And this flaw, this hole in things is a metaphor that they return to. But that's a conversation for the future. Anyway, is there anything else?
There's nothing else.
X-Men? Nothing
No
else.
more new X-Men.
So.
Yeah, fine. Thank fuck. Next week we're moving over to another X-related thing. Ironically, I didn't think about that when we were scheduling, but we're moving over to the X-Files. Next week we're doing. I should have put it in front of me. But basically, it's kind of some tentpole episodes from season 2. Some of the alien conspiracy shit. I think it's episode 16, 17, and 25. Hopefully by the time I finish vamping, I can call up the schedule. No, I failed. 16, 17, and 25. There we go. Shouldn't have dealt with myself.
Is that 16, 17, 25, season 2?
Yep. And rewatch them, and they're fucking bangers. We're going to have a great time. And then we're going to do some X-Files comics, and then we're going to do some season 3 and season 4. We're going to do X-Files, the main conspiracy, and then we're going to see like some offshoot stuff. And then we're going to see like the X-Files was kind of a goofy show at the same time. We'll study some goofy episodes, some stuff a little bonkers. And then, God help us, we're going to do X-Files Fight the Future. 1998.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's going to be X-Files March. So if audience members, you want to, follow along, that's your reading. And I guess after that, we're going to have Eat the Rich April. But I don't know, in May, I think we should, I don't know, we were actually going to do serial killers in May. But I would like to, like, audience members. I think at some point, let's say May at this point, if there's some like suggestions, if you're like, I challenge you boys, it cannot be too long. It's like, let's say like a 6-issue arc or something like that, or 3 issues of something. And if there's something you'd like us to tackle, let us know, but be reasonable. We're a bunch of dads over here. And you should also like and review us.
That'd be great.
That's right. You don't have to like us, but you should.
Oh yeah, sorry. No.
You should give us 5 stars, though.
Yeah.
And just say like these guys exist, and then
they try their best, something like that.
Yeah. A bunch of dads won't even fucking read Blood Meridian, even though I asked them to. Sorry.
Blood Meridian.
Sorry.
How long is it?
Sorry. It's about 200 pages. It's very good. I mean, we can talk about that, but it's not a comic book. It's a novel.
All right, we're in.
Yeah, we're in. It's any day now. Yeah. Anyway, so anyway, you can do those things, and you can also watch stuff, and I guess that's it. I don't know. Be kind to your fellow human.
Yeah, we learned that.
Try that.
We did, yeah.
Now, all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.